Hello, 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 and welcome to the Call-In Show. My name is Jay Edgar. Man, what another week. I swear to God, we just keep getting these weeks over and over again. These weird weeks that are just nothing but craziness and insanity, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on. That is the worst part of it, is nobody knows any idea, no ideas whatsoever of what is going on here. So we are going to take some time, hopefully dispel some of what's going on here. Hopefully we'll get a chance and see what we've got going on here. We are taking calls tonight, that is right. So if you want to get on the air and air some of your election grievances, no matter what side you're on, whether you're a lefty, whether you're a righty, whether you're for liberty, whether you're for anything else, we want to hear from you over on the Freedom Scoop Network. We want to take some time and hear what you have to say here. Plus, we are taking all live chat throughout the program here. I'll be reading back your questions, your commentary, and everything else that you have to say about this here. So definitely looking forward to hearing back some of what you guys have to say. And even if you want to talk about something other than the election, we definitely want to hear from you as well. If you want to call in, head on over into the Discord server that is linked in the description below all three of your major platforms. It is in the About in the Twitch, it is in the About in the DLive, and it is in the description in the YouTube chat. We're not streaming to Facebook right now because they suck, and they won't let me stream over there right now, so we're not streaming over there. And if you were on Periscope, the reply to the tweet that contains this video has the link to the Discord server as well. Hop on into the Discord server, head on in over and hang out with us in there, get some discussion going on with us as well. Get into the waiting room for call-ins. It's in the menu over there. Head on into that waiting room and go into the Pick Me section. Type hashtag Pick Me and let me know that you're ready to go. I'll be watching that as we go along. So we're definitely ready to go on into this here because there's a whole lot to go. We're going to take care of some of these sweet beats from David Wise. Let those up out of here. Thank you once again for not kicking copyright every time I put one of these up here. It's kind of amazing because YouTube copyrights absolutely everything, but if it comes from a video game for whatever reason, they do not copyright it. So it's kind of fun to see, kind of fun to go along with and use some of these classic beats that really shaped my childhood. Let's see if we've got anybody in here chatting so far. Not yet over here. I don't have anybody in here. I got a couple people sitting back watching, just a couple of people sitting out and lurking. So head on in, get your questions in, get your comments in, and let's go. So as we all know, the election just happened, and it was a shit show to begin with, and it was everything that we thought that it was going to be. It was everything that we knew what it was going to be. Donald Trump wouldn't let his ego let him go out and give up on anything because he's Donald fucking Trump. It's the same reason that he ran. I am convinced right now that Donald Trump was sitting in the Oval Office, or not in the Oval Office, he was sitting in the penthouse in Trump Tower one day. I'm absolutely convinced of this. He was sitting in the penthouse in Trump Tower, and he looked up. He just kept watching the, what the hell is the one that the journalists come out doing, pat each other on the back everywhere? I can't think of the name of it. Oh, the Correspondence Ball. He was watching the White House Correspondence Ball, just sitting there, watching, hanging out with that, and he kept listening to it on repeat. Barack Obama say, well, you know, Mr. Trump, at least I will go down in history as a U.S. president. And he just kept listening to that over and over again. Over and over again. And then he looked up and he said, Ivanka, baby, get up off my lap here. Daddy's got to do something. Jared, hold my Diet Coke. I'm going to run for fucking president, alright? He's so smug over there. I'm going to run for president. Hold my Diet Coke. It's the best Diet Coke. I'm going to be the best president. I'll be the greatest president there is. And I'm convinced that that is how the whole conversation went down with whether or not Donald Trump is going to be president. So I'm absolutely convinced off of this, and his ego won't let it go. And very well it should. This is something that we've needed for a very, very long time. The jokes are out there. The memes are out there. This is something I've been saying over and over again on my program. The jokes and the memes are all out there, all saying the exact same thing. For years, There have been dead people voting from the grave. This has been going on since longer than there was a Trump. That people have been having these memes. This has been going on for absolutely ever. That we've been having these memes. So it's not a new thing. People voting out, going out, voting more than one time. What was the old meme? What was the old joke before there were memes? Vote early and vote often. These are things that we know have happened. And we know have been happening for a very, very long time. This is not new. That's the big thing, that none of this that they keep talking about with the election interference, with dead people voting, with people voting multiple times, the union taking people around to vote in multiple precincts before you had voter ID in a place that specifically showed where your precinct was to vote out of. These are all old tropes that we've been seeing forever and ever and ever and a day. None of this is new. And yet people are coming out and acting like this is the first time anybody has ever suggested that there was a problem with this. The world to the media started and ended with Donald Trump. That's one thing you do have to pay attention to and keep in mind with when we talk about it. According to the media right now, the world started and ended with Donald Trump. And nothing else mattered before that or after that. So that's all we're going to see off of this. And it's going to keep going left and right, in and out, over and over and over again. So as of right now, Donald Trump is challenging the results in several key states. All the Twitter polls are out there. Well, do you believe that there is mass widespread voter fraud out there? No, there isn't. I'll cover that in just a second. And every single media pundit is out there is just, accept the results, you bigot. Just accept it. Don't question it. Don't question anything, which is the most dangerous thing you can talk about in any sort of free and fair society is don't question anything. You should always be questioning everything or in the world around you, especially if it's coming from a mainstream news conglomerate, because they do have an agenda. All media has an agenda. My media has an agenda. My agenda is to try and get you to think for yourself, to try and get to the bottom and the root of things and see what's actually happening here. But, I may be the most sainted one out of this. So, yeah, there are definitely different ways to come out and look at this, to come out and see this. So that's what we're seeing off of this. As far as the widespread voter fraud, I do not believe that there was widespread voter fraud. I do believe that there was some level of voter fraud in California. And I'm going to explain that in just a second, because you would never actually need to have voter fraud in California, because no matter what, you can put whatever generic Democrat name that you want up on the ballot, and that person is going to win the vote of all 57 electors in California before any of the voting comes in, before any of it comes in at all. That person that is on the ballot in California is going to win every last vote in California. So definitely something to watch off of there. Definitely something that's going to happen here. Let's see. Watching Trains Go By is lurking. Wolf336 has got the sniffin' sticker of old Uncle Sniffin' as the already conservative says. Train says, LOL, in some multiverse, I think there really was a group of people that saw how sick DC and politics became, trafficking and all of it, and they decided to try and do something about it. But it's bigger than anybody thought. That's that Q thing that they keep trying to shove down your throat. And like I always say on this, there is only one Q that I accept. There is but one. The only Q that I accept is John motherfucking Delancey, the godlike alien in Star Trek The Next Generation and all of the subsequent Star Treks. That is the only Q that I accept as being real. Everybody else is just some sort of imitator out there, but that is the only one. John Delancey. I don't know if there is some sort of trafficking or anything major about that going on over in DC. That's what powerful people have done for the entirety of time. That's part of the reason that we have a human trafficking and a child trafficking ring everywhere, is because some powerful rich dude in some other country somewhere, or possibly even in this country, wants to do creepy sick shit with a little kid. That is the reason that there is trafficking. And it's not always just sex shit either. Sometimes they want to have an heir, sometimes they're sterile, sometimes their wives can't give them a son. So sometimes they want to kidnap somebody and raise them as their own, or keep them into some sort of slavery that doesn't have to be sexual. But yes, the reason that there is any sort of trafficking whatsoever out there is because powerful people want to do stuff with kids. That's it. That's the only reason that there is out there for it. And yeah, I do believe that there. I mean, we keep seeing the operations go back and forth. They just keep popping in and out. Operation Missing Child, Operation Autumn Hope. We keep seeing these, especially in kind of the Georgia area on the Florida border. In the Ohio area seems to be a big one where they just keep going out. They have more stings and more stings and more stings, and they bring more and more kids home, which should warm your heart just a little bit if you come out and actually look at it. This should absolutely warm your heart, but it keeps going over and over again. There is trafficking. There is a problem with this. I would have never thought either that there were that many kids that are getting kidnapped and sold into trafficking. I mean, we're talking in the thousands. You would think if there was that big of an epidemic of kids getting kidnapped and missing and gone forever or running away and everything else like that, that would be the stop of every major news story. You wouldn't hear a word about politics if this was really that big of an epidemic. You would think. Obviously, that's not the case because we keep hearing about it, but you would think if, as protective as parents are, and I've seen how my sister is with her kids. I've seen how my parents were with me. I understand that not every single parent is as loving and as devoted to their children. But with the level of love and devotion that I have actually seen in parents, I would never think that there would be that many kids where a parent would actually just stop looking. I wouldn't think that that's even possible, but it just keeps apparently happening because what are we at? 30,000 kids have come home at this point from all of these operations out in the Southwest. That is an incredible number of children. The news should be stopping every single time we have one of them pop up, and we barely hear a blip until somebody in D.C. brings them home, and even then, the mainstream media barely covers any of this. I had to go deep into alternative sources to cover any of this for Contemporary. I had to go deep into the recesses of The Blaze. A little bit in NPR, because NPR did cover it a little bit, but The Blaze, NPR, into the Daily Wire. Sometimes even into the Gateway fucking Pundit. Before I started seeing any coverage of any of these kids coming home. So yes, there's trafficking. Whether or not powerful people in D.C. are involved in it, we don't know. The Q people would like you to believe that they are, but I don't know if they are or not. Let's see. Train says, dude, I'm not a Q fan. They're nuts. They actually believe in the Gesara-Nesara plan and the NWO reset. I guess I don't know what that is. Let me see what Gesara-Nesara plan is, because that is a new terminology to me. Gesara-Nesara. NESARA, National Economic Security and Recovery Act, was a set of proposed economic reforms for the United States during the 1990s. So I'm guessing that GESARA is global of the same thing. Let me take NESARA out of here and see what happens, what that comes up. NESARA and GESARA, Revelaciones, Spanish edition. NESARA, GESARA, Pinterest. So GESARA just seems to be a back note to NESARA, but let's go back and look and see what NESARA is and then read about that, because that's a new one for me. Let's use the same thing that everybody uses to copy and paste term papers off of too. National Economic Security and Recovery Act was a set of proposed economic reforms for the United States suggested during the 1990s by Harvey Francis Barnard. Barnard claimed the proposals, which included replacing the income tax with a national sales tax, abolishing compound interest on secured loans, and returning to a bimetallic currency, would result in 0% inflation. Yeah, that's bullshit. And a more stable economy. The proposals were never introduced before Congress. NESARA has been are since become better known as the subject of a cult-like conspiracy theory promoted by Shaney Candace Goodwin, doing business as Dove of Oneness, who claimed that the act was actually passed with additional provisions as the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and then suppressed by the W administration and the Supreme Court. Goodwin's conspiracy emails have been translated into several languages and have a large following online. So, there's so much wrong with that just on that first paragraph, just on the intro to that. There is so much wrong with off of this here. Going back to a bimetallic currency would probably not be the worst thing in the world, but the reality of it all is it's not about the inflation at this point, because they can take the bimetallic currency and continue to pump more and more of it out of there until you actually peg it to physical gold, to a physical metal or a physical commodity of some sort, or a fixed amount of currency into a system as a reflection of the GDP, which is what it should be, and fix it to that point, not raise the amount of currency until you raise the GDP. Until you fix it to one of those two things, you are going to have inflation. It's just going to happen. They're just going to keep printing money out of thin air so they can keep giving it out. Rashida Tlaib, during the first stimulus that came out of Congress, her big proposal for that was to sit down and mint out $2 trillion coins and use that to solve all of the world's woes and give out a debit card to every single human being in the country, legal, illegal, or otherwise. Just give them a debit card and every single month load another $1,000 onto it. That was her solution, and those $2 trillion coins would have covered that. Now, the actual Recovery Act far exceeded the $2 trillion. That's why we are currently $28 trillion in debt. But that debt, as of right now, is for the most part pinned to what our GDP is. So it's not going out. I mean, it's there, but it's not going completely crazy on any of this. They borrowed it from other countries instead of printing out funny money. Still not a good thing, but we're not going to see a mass inflation out of it. It's still a reflection of our GDP at this point. I would have preferred it if we hadn't done any of it, not locked our country down. And that's one of the things that we're seeing right now, too. I'll talk about that in just a bit. I do want to talk a bit about the recounts and everything out of here. Let's see. I got a new name out in here over on Twitch. Let's see. Watching Trains Go By says, if you find the right sources, they basically combine the Green New Deal with social credit, cashless society, and all that other insanity. Q folks are split. One fork wants it, universal income, all. Yeah, and they keep trying to sell you socialism under a different name. Lab Potato says, where you studied economy, can I also learn a bit more about it? Basically, I do internet research, and I pick up economic textbooks every once in a while. I'll pick them up on Kindle and go back and read through them as well. I want to sit down and read some Rothbard, because I think that's an interesting take, and read some other more libertarian philosophers as far as economy goes. But the biggest thing right now is that the amount of currency that we have in circulation has to be pinned to either, like I said, the GDP or an actual physical entity such as gold. Yes, you can have dollar bills. Yes, you don't have to carry around gold in your pocket. You don't have to do either one, or you can have both of those things at once, but it does have to be pinned to something. Right now, it's basically the money is worth whatever the government says it's worth, and they'll keep throwing more of it into the pot until everybody has enough. And that's what's going to come out of UBI, too, if Yang gets his fucking way. He's up there running his fucking mouth again. Yeah, I don't have a Nobel Prize. I think I'm being trolled over there over on Twitch. But that's what happens up out of this. Anyway, continuing to go up here, going back on to the election. By the way, if anybody does want to call in, The call-in link is, the Discord link is down in the description. Let's get that up into some of the chats here so you guys can see it in here. Pop in there, get into the pick me room and drop in a pick me, and then get into the waiting room. Let's see. Let's get that up in there for you guys so we can get some people in here and chatting and get some other voices up on the air. I'm a little, well, I'm not actually really all that surprised right now because everybody, as the title implies, everybody does have a massive election hangover. That's all anybody's talked about for the last week. That's all any news companies talked about. That is all any mainstream sites talked about. Dude, if I wasn't doing this for YouTube, I would just turn off all news and say, come back when you figured out who the fuck the winner is. But I do this out here for you guys, and I read news every morning, so I definitely want to get some takes onto that as well. But my God, it is getting sickening, everything else that goes off of this. But as I was saying off the beginning, we know that some of these things are going on. We know that they've been going on forever. Voter fraud is a real thing. The union has been going out into certain neighborhoods, picking people up who aren't working, getting them on a bus and busing them around to various different precincts. For years, they've been coming out trying to do this, to try and get favorable outcomes for the union. It's not like this is a new thing. The old joke, vote early, vote often. It happens. It's been happening forever. Everybody knows that it's happening. But now we're actually taking some time and looking into it, trying to figure this out. And I did come up with a theory, just a little bit of a tinfoil-y theory off of this, but I do believe that it's true, and that is, I look back, now Romney conceded, McCain conceded, Hillary conceded, I believe Kerry conceded too, but going back, the last time we didn't have a presidential candidate concede was Bush versus Gore back in 2000. Al Gore was so convinced that he won that election that he went out and he took it all the way to the Supreme Court, which was absolutely his right to do. He was running for one of the highest offices in the land. He had put tons and tons of money into it. He'd raised tons and tons of money. There were people with a bunch of money that believed in Al Gore for whatever reason I can't understand. He was just another shill fucking neoliberal war hawk that was going to go out and put us into another war in the Middle East. It would have been exactly the same. That presidency would have been identical, whether it had been Bush or Gore. Either way, we were going back to the Middle East and we were going to stay there for 20 fucking years. Either way, that was what was going to happen off of that. So, I mean, it made no difference off of that election. This one actually seems like it might make some sort of a difference, or, as I've mentioned, we might actually get an answer. We might see what's actually going for this, what's actually happening with this, what is actually going to come out of this. We might see a solution. Maybe not for this election, but for elections to come. But I know Hillary Clinton went on for the next 4 years saying, I won the popular vote. I won the presidency. I got 65 million recommendation letters from people across the country. I got all of this here. I am the rightful president, after she conceded the morning after election night. And honestly, with the overwhelming number of ballots that did come in for Trump, I think a big part of the reason right now was the fact that I don't think that she wanted people looking too close to it. I don't think that she wanted FEC officials looking really, really closely at what was actually going on. Now, Gary Johnson, hippie grandma, any of those people could have jumped up and made a challenge to the presidency, but everybody was just going to laugh them out of court. Okay, you got 3,000 votes. Get the fuck out of here. It would have been that kind of thing. Train says, there isn't a doubt in my mind they stole, destroyed enough to do it. They'll never need to steal one again if Trump loses. All they'll need to do is keep candidate control instead of rigging election. Yeah, they are a bunch of dirty riggers. Unsatiable says, I wish I was enrolled in Trump University. Unsatiable, our resident troll. Unsatiable, why don't you call in? This is a call-in show. I want to hear you troll live on air. That's what I want to hear. I want to get involved in that kind of shit. Get in the Discord server, which, let's get that back up here for you. Otherwise, it's in the description. There, you'll see, once you're in the Discord server, you will see a call-in room that you can get into. In the call-in show area, there's one that you can access, and then one you can't access. You get into the one that you can access, and I will bring you into the one that you can't, because that's the one that we're hosting the show on. Yes, I would love to have you on here actually. So hop up on in here, get into that waiting room, and we will bring you in. I'm guessing that's you that just popped into the Discord. So absolutely, head on in here. Let's do this here. I'm looking forward to this one here. Yep, you're in. Let's bring him in. So Unsatiable 1776 is going to troll me by voice here in just a second here. So make sure you get your stream muted and let's have a listen to this. All right, if you just get that mic unmuted, you'll be ready to go.
Oh, what's up, man?
You're here.
Yeah.
After all the trolling you've done. How you doing?
I don't believe half the shit I say. I just say for fun.
I know you do. That's the best part of this. So you wish you were in Trump University right now.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I was just reading up on that. He had a cardboard cutout. He's like, oh, you're going to meet Donald Trump. He got a cardboard cutout where you take a picture of his fucking... Dude. Yeah, that'd been fun, dude. I could have sued him. Got some settlement money.
Lots and lots of settlement money. Yeah, a lot of people came out with that. I mean, from what you said in the chat a couple times, you actually did have a bit of a windfall not that long ago, didn't you?
A windfall with what? I voted for myself? Yeah, I got to do a recount on that.
No, not from voting for yourself. Didn't you get like a crypto windfall not that long ago or something?
Crypto?
Oh.
No.
I thought you came into a little bit of money not that long ago.
Iris is listening. Oh, with AMD, yeah.
Oh, AMD, yeah.
That's all above board. Yeah, crypto, no, Iris can't, they're hearing us, dude. I don't want to be taxed.
You don't want to be taxed. Don't you live in like California or something ridiculous like that? Where they're going to tax you out the ass anyway?
And they're gonna tax my dog. Yeah, the fucking assholes.
So what do you think about this election that we just had here?
It's pretty funny. The Four Seasons Total Landscaping. That was the best story out of it. They fucking booked the wrong Four Seasons. Right next to a sex shop and a fucking crematorium.
Yeah,
how much did that cost? I want to know. I want to know how much that dude got, like, to host the fucking the thing there. Probably got like 10,000.
I don't know, man, but I mean, on some of the stuff here, I can't believe that it's actual real. Some of the stuff I think is coming from the Babylon Bee. It's got to be. Like the Babylon Bee wrote the story and it just happened.
Yep.
We've come to that point in 2020. Like I've joked, there was a girl that I dated when I lived out east, and I said that it was literally every blonde joke that I've ever told came to life and took form as a human being. And I think that's what's happening with Babylon Bee articles in 2020. They're writing them as satire, and they're just popping into existence.
I feel like one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I don't know if I've ever seen that show.
Oh, it's just... Okay, have you seen Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No.
An episode of that bullshit. Oh, it's just a bunch of bullshit happening like every fucking day, dude.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't vote for Trump because I don't think I voted in 2016. I think I was drunk. If I were to vote, I would have voted for Trump just to have the 4 years again, because that shit was hilarious. So, like every day I'd wake up and some crazy shit's happening.
Yeah, especially in that last year. It was like they were trying to rip the country down. And the only real regret that I have out of 2020 at this point was the fact that I had to see my hometown burnt up the way that it was. Other than that, it's like, bring on more of this bullshit. Show your hand. Put your cards on the table and show us what you have.
You think there's an election?
I think so. I don't think it's widespread. And I wanted to touch on that for just a bit once I'm going back up on my rant is... I do think that there is, but I don't think it's widespread. I think that it is very, very small, specific, and targeted to get a specific outcome. And they said that they were going to do it.
Yeah, dude, look, if they would have gave me $20, I would have done it. I would have fucking filled out some absentee ballots.
There you have it, folks. All it takes is $20.
Nah, let's say $40, okay? It seems like a lot of work. You gotta do it in my downtime from trolling.
You are always a treat to have up on the show here. Well, I'm going to kick you back up out of the waiting room here, and we'll get back up onto the rant in. But yeah, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us and lending some of your voice.
All right, man. Anything I ever say, I'm probably drunk, or I don't mean it, or I do mean it.
Something happens.
Yeah, all right, man.
Thanks, Unsatiable. All right, Unsatiable. Thank you for coming in and hanging out with us up here. That was definitely an interesting one, and I can put a voice with the trolling now, which is a little bit of fun here. So I mentioned it up at the top of the show, and that is the fact that they keep trying to hang the extra word on this widespread voter fraud. They tried to do this in 2016 too, and they tried to do it in 2012 on top of this when Mitt Romney was ahead technically in the popular vote when we all went to bed, and he suddenly came out behind in the popular vote, and on top of it he had lost a number of states in the Electoral College. Mitt Romney, I think, was maybe a victim of more voter fraud off of here. Obama, he wasn't going anywhere with the economy, and he kept coming out and saying, well, I created the best economy in the world, and it's just all that Trump did was he extended that, and then he destroyed the economy of himself. Meanwhile, all of these other blue state Democrat governors have shut down their economy so tightly that nobody can do anything, and Evers is sitting over there salivating over his fucking desk saying, yes, I can shut down more small business. I can shut down more small business here and get everything out of the way and get another payoff for another Amazon hub. And everybody will go to work there because they're so desperate for a job. Evers is over there fucking drooling about that shit. But in all honesty, it doesn't have to be widespread voter fraud. And that's the reason that they keep trying to hang that weasel word up on there when they're doing it over on Twitter one way or the other. They keep throwing that weasel word on there so it can get thrown out as another Q conspiracy theory, as another massive conspiracy that nobody wants to take seriously or believe. They throw that little weasel word on there so nobody can come out and say, oh, well, no, look at this guy over here. He's got WWG1WGA. I don't know. I'd actually have to go back and look and see what it was. But the hashtag, well, he's a conspiracy theorist. He likes Q. Look at this guy. Well, nope, nothing there. But the truth is, it didn't have to be widespread. It didn't. And I think that there was some voter fraud going on in 2016 too. And like I said, I'm pretty sure Hillary conceded because she didn't want people looking that closely at the rolls because she knew that they were going to find some stuff. Whereas if she conceded, she could spend the next 4 years saying, I won the presidential election. I am rightfully president. Make me president. All right, I got hot sauce in my pocket. She could spend 4 years doing that. And meanwhile, nobody was looking too close at those rolls, looking at what was going on over there. The remainder of the vote count became pretty much a formality at that point, where they just went out and, okay, let's just count what we've got here. We already know who the president-elect is going to be. The other major contender conceded out. So we know who the elect is going to be. Just throw him in the bin. We'll get to it when we get to it. It was a formality at that point. Nobody had to look very closely at the signatures or anything else off of that matter. Whereas now, and you'll notice this, the mainstreamers, the lefties on Twitter, the left-leaning libertarians on Twitter, by the way, too, have decided that it's Trust the Government Day, which I don't understand where libertarians believe that it's Trust the Government Day, but they're over there on Twitter, too. Just concede. Just stop. Stop fighting. Concede. Just concede. Don't say another word about this. Just concede. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit, yo. He made the challenge. He put all kinds of money up into the challenge. It is his right to go have somebody come back and take a second look at this, especially when it comes to public office. If he doesn't like the way the results look, absolutely go and look at it. Bullshit. When you've put that much money into something, put that much stake into it, your professional career, because he's the president, that is currently his job right now. Yes, go and have somebody else go and take a look at it. We've got the safeguards in place to do so. But they're that desperate. And I mean, some of these people back in 2016, the memory hole is large, and it gets a bunch of stuff sucked into there. Let's see. Watching Trains Go By says, I think the mystery of trolls when I don't know what they sound like. My imagination is much more fun than that reality. 5 states is all it takes, as we can see. Train says, dude, did you ever look at the document I pinned on your DLive page? No, I have not. I didn't know you could pin something on my DLive page. Throw it in the Discord. That's usually the best way to get to stuff. But yeah, I will definitely look at it. Those numbers were theoretical but legit. 30 to 65 million vote discrepancy from 2016. Well, I'll go and have. I've seen some other stuff like that floating around, so I know what you're talking about. Where Biden got millions of votes more than Hillary in various states over 2016 to 2020. Yeah, and I do think that there is a level of Trump hate that went with that. Some of this could be absolute vote fraud, but some of this is Trump hate too. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. Some of this is going to be Trump hate. There is Trump hate added to the vote with this. Unsatiable says, we will have periods of horrible governance when it's that. Oh, come on, Unsatiable. Oh, I can't say that out loud. You're right, but I can't say that out loud. Can I? I don't think I can say that out loud. Oh. How do we combat voter fraud? We do more voter fraud. Okay. Watching Trains Go By says, I already deleted my channel. I couldn't figure out how to do anything there. Said, screw it. YouTube is my only home. We all know it, but we can't say. Yeah, I know. I know we do. Anyway, yeah, no, it is. And sometimes even further. Just dump a couple more 100,000 ballots in a few big cities, in a few key swing states. Just dump them in. I mean, in the gubernatorial race in Wisconsin, it came down to a matter of 3,000 votes that they found at the very last second in Milwaukee in 2018. And that was a non-presidential year, so there weren't so many people excited to go out and vote for president. But the gubernatorial race in Wisconsin, where Scott Walker was a very, very unpopular figure, and yet people still didn't want to turn the state over to Democrat rule, because Evers is a union shill who is going to do whatever the teachers union and even the progressive wing of the Democrat Party in Wisconsin tells him to. He has no spine of his own. He has no agenda of his own. He makes it up as he goes along based on what his progressive advisors tell him to do. And people didn't want to turn the state over to that. And yes, it all came down to a series of 3,000 votes that they found at the very last second, 1:30 in the morning, Wednesday morning, the day after Election Day, in a trunk with a gluing error in Milwaukee. They don't have to do anything major and widespread to do this. There was no widespread voter fraud in Wisconsin. Just 3,000 ballots that mysteriously showed up out of thin air in Milwaukee. And you'll notice, this is something that's been pointed out by numerous commentators at this point too. It was always going into the election, during the election, after the election. Count all the votes. Count all the votes. Do not say anything. Don't concede. Don't stop until all votes are counted. Well, right now, 7 states are currently in litigation. Recount territory, litigation, or contested results. In 7 different states. And now they just want Trump to jump up and concede. Not all the votes have been counted, but they just want him to give up and concede and go away. That sounds pretty hypocritical right there. It becomes our guy won. Now just give up and concede. Trust the government. Trust elections. And that's where I was going with the left-wing libertarians too. Let's see what you guys are doing over here. Unsatiable says, does anyone remember when Harris called Biden during the cahoots with race, or being in cahoots with racists during the debate? Pepperidge Farm rumor. Yeah. Who will be Kamala Harris's vice president? I believe they're talking about Cory Booker as Kamala's vice president, because yes, it doesn't go. And I talked about this a bit too. It doesn't necessarily go with like it doesn't go down the line. Like the Speaker of the House doesn't get bumped up to become the Vice President automatically in the line of succession should Biden get 25th Amendmented out or die while he's in office. The Vice President wouldn't become or wouldn't exactly be the Speaker of the House. Now Kamala Harris could tap the Speaker of the House to be the Vice President if she were to win. She could absolutely do that. That's absolutely a possibility, but it doesn't have to go down that chain of command anymore. Kamala Harris can appoint whoever she desires to be the vice president if Biden gets 25th Amendmented out. And then some horrible fate befalls her, and let's say it is Cory Booker. So Cory Booker becomes the vice president. Kamala Harris slips on a banana peel while wearing stiletto heels, cracks her neck, passes along. And now Cory Booker is the president, and Cory Booker picks Hillary Clinton, let's say. And then Cory Booker gets very, very, very depressed while he's the president. He gets so depressed that he reaches out round behind his head with a pistol and shoots himself in the back of the head because he's so depressed. And then we have President Hillary Clinton. That's a little bit too tinfoily, but you know what? It's something that could possibly happen. So less articulate, bald Obama. Is Kamala bald? I didn't know that. I thought she just had the regular hair. Spartan says, look at the Prime Minister of Israel gave the congrats to Biden. That is that. Nobody should question his judgment. Question everything. Let's see. Watching trains go by said, if Biden and Kamala get in, guaranteed within 20 years, America is Sharia culture and laws with communist form of government, 100%. What channel is that movie on? I don't know what movie you're talking about. I do think this is all part of Hillary's master plan to get into office. That one's rough. I don't know if I can read that one. I don't know, man. That one is tough. That one's rough. But, yeah, I can't do that one. She'll make a farting noise from her lady parts on us as payback. The Cory Booker Hillary story. I have no idea. But it would be funny to watch. I mean, we've seen this thing before, and we're seeing this, like I said, now in places like Pennsylvania. Now, they had a very, very large deficit of votes to overcome. And that was the other thing, too, that we looked at when it came down to the mail-in voting thing. Well, all these states, they won't even allow you to count mail-in votes until after all the rest of the ones are counted. Which I think is a fucking ridiculous idea. But it goes down with the other side of it, too, because, I mean, in Wisconsin, I believe, well, you're not allowed to count the votes in the official capacity, let's say. But I know that they were looking at the addresses of votes that were coming in, and there were a lot of votes that were coming in from very, very red areas in Wisconsin, because even in the primary season, everybody was freaked to death of fucking COVID. So they were looking at where the mail-in ballots were coming from when they were doing the spring race here in Wisconsin in April, which had the Supreme Court race on, which I don't understand why that wasn't in the general, but whatever. That's the way Wisconsin decided to do things. But with the Supreme Court justice on the ticket, all these votes were coming in from very, very red addresses, and they were looking at this and saying, what the fuck are we going to do? What are we going to do? So yes, they started to get the push out, and Evers suddenly said, well, let's change the election day. And it was like a week before election day in April. Election was on Tuesday. He came out on Thursday and said, well, Robin Vos, let's change the election day. And Robin Vos said, fuck you, we're not going to do that. And then we had it on the same day. And that was also the situation where Bernie stayed on the ticket long enough to get all those progressive Wisconsin college students out so we could get an overwhelming landslide for Jill Karofsky, because that doesn't bring a liberal majority to Wisconsin Supreme Court, but it got them a little bit closer, chipped away, instead of having a, what is it, 5-2 right now? No, because that would be an even number. I think it's, I don't know. It was ridiculously lopsided in favor of Republican-appointed justices in Wisconsin. And then now we have a Madison progressive as one of the justices that's in there, and it narrowed the split a little bit. Let's see, what else do we got here? Pete the Patriot is in here. How we doing? Well, come on in. Pete, do you want to call in? That's one that I would want to get on. The story you were telling about how Hillary gets back into power. I'd love to see that movie. Yeah, that would be an interesting movie to see. Are we on Hillary's list? It's not Hillary's list. It's AOC's list. It is absolutely AOC's list, and I am absolutely on it. I'm going to do an op-ed on that one, just talking about what it means for coming out to be on some of these lists, because I've had some thoughts about that. You don't want to be suicided. Yeah, nobody wants to be suicided. Let's get the Discord link in here. If we can get Pete the Patriot on here, that'd be awesome. Let's get him up in the chat. Get him up in here and chatting. That would be great. A Train says, did you see the graph by Bill Whittle showing mathematically how Trump, according to polls, did better in blue counties than red counties? Down ticket, he did worse with his own base. Impossible. I don't mind being on AOC's list if it means I die by Stu. I like that. Death by Stu. The Amazons. They will come out and do this. But yeah, there doesn't have to be any sort of widespread fraud off of this. It just dump a few ballots. And most states in the union have the presidential race as a statewide popular vote race. I think there are a couple that don't. I know Nebraska's one and Maine is one, but for the most part it is a statewide popular vote. So yes, you can come back and you can look at all these counties across Wisconsin especially that are all red, and then you see blue in Dane County where Madison is, in Milwaukee County, and I think a little bit up in Eau Claire County. Stu. Why does AOC have to be so hot? Milkies are radicalizing people. Oh, that's rough. But I love it. But yeah, just come in and dump a few ballots in a very, very blue area, and then whoops, all those rural counties out there that all voted for Trump. Oh, I guess they're all canceled out here. So I'm cooking right now, but send me an email and we'll set something up soon. I will do that. Yeah, I want to do some more of these call-in shows. So yeah, absolutely. If you get on there, get into the Discord and hang out, that'd be awesome. Ads block Twitter. Would you date AOC? AOC is my future wife, I'll have you know. I have been saying that since she won the primary. AOC is going to be my future wife. It's mostly a troll because she's dumb as a fucking brick. And I'd want to punch those massive teeth in within 2 weeks of the honeymoon. But it's still fun to say. Especially the way that I womanized throughout my life and wanting to get her back in the kitchen and her being a strong, independent woman. It's fun to say, but yes, AOC is my future wife. I think we're going to wrap this up here for the day here, though. We're going to get out there. I'm going to be watching a movie over on the Discord for you guys there, so if you guys want to get in, half an hour after I hit the close button, we will be watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World over on the Discord. I'll be streaming it over there into the Movie Night channel. That is a Mike's Muted channel, so you'll be coming. You will not be able to unmute your mic, but we'll head on in there and watch that. I'm very much looking forward to that. I love that movie. It's a great movie. I love the music in it. I love the video game themes out of it, and I love the message that came out of that. Train says they got a pretty good crowd in DC today too. Yeah, that's one of the things too, and I want to point that out right as we're closing this off of here. I've said this on Contemporary a couple times. Now, the left in this country is going to fight for the kind of government that they want, and you do have to applaud them for that. They are fighting for the kind of government that they want. Now, the kind of government that they want screws the rest of us over like crazy. We are fucked if that kind of government comes in. But the left in this country will fight for the government that they want. For the most part, throughout my life, throughout my 36 years, the right in this country didn't fight for the kind of government that they wanted. For the most part, they had the government they wanted. Enough government power that they could go and set foreign policy and go bomb brown people that don't like Christians. They like that government. But the mass fighting by the Trump people at this point, going out into the streets, fighting to keep the government that they want, is something you love to see. They're not sitting back this time through. It doesn't matter the fact that it's November in Washington, D.C., where it's cold. They're still going out there in the streets. And we're seeing it in other places, too. I know in Madison, they went out and they stormed the Capitol Square to try and get a recount happening in Wisconsin, to try and force Governor Evers' hand. Now, under state law, they can't do that. The candidate actually does have to request a recount. There's no automatic recount in Wisconsin. And it has to be if the race is within 1%. We're within 1% in the state. It is 0.6% is the difference in this state. So yes, if Trump can come up and get the money up, then absolutely come in and recount the state. I want to see the kind of government that these people want. Maybe not the top-down stuff, but definitely see a kind of conservative, small government area. They're coming out and fighting. And I mean, I sit in front of the microphone and tell you the kind of government that I want. I'm a federalist. Bring it down to the state level, bring it down to the city level, municipality level, county level, bring it down as far as you can. Make sure that you have to look your lawmaker in the eye when you're going to the grocery store. That's the kind of government that I want. But these people are not going to take a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris ascending to the presidency, laying down. And finally, we have a president who will come up and challenge the results to make sure that he gets in. So some of the stuff gets looked at. I don't think that they're going to let President Trump get his second term. I think that there are enough cogs and enough shields into the mail-in system that they set up that Donald Trump is ultimately going to lose this time. But they're never going to be able to pull this bullshit again that they pulled this year, because everybody's going to be looking way too closely at it in 2022. They shot their wad on this one. I think they're going to wind up winning, but they shot their wad. They used up all their tricks. And they're not going to be able to pull this bullshit again. They're not going to be able to pull a mass mail-in because everybody's going to know what happened off, especially if they start putting the fucking boot down on people. They're not going to be able to do it again. It's just not going to happen. So they'll put the boot down on people. People will look up and say, wow, this mail-in voting thing fucking blew. Why the hell did we let this happen again? We're not going to let this happen again. And we're going to show up in double the numbers for the next round. And yes, they can still go back with the mail-in and produce enough ballots again, but after seeing the fiasco that was 2020, do you think that the FEC is going to let that shit fly again? Or they're going to know exactly what to look for? The poll watchers are going to demand 6, 5, 4-foot access to be able to sit down and read the signatures on everything. Yes, they put enough shields in place that they could possibly get away with it this time, but they are never going to be able to get away with it again, ever, after this. And I'm glad to see that, because a lot of this shit needed to be looked into 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And now we're finally going to see some of this get challenged. Even if we have to live under 4 years of a Biden presidency at this point, we're still going to come out on top. He's breaking their toys. He is breaking their toys. And that has been the best thing that's come out of this presidency. He spent like a drunken fucking idiot right from the top. He wouldn't stop spending. For the most part, they kept giving him omnibuses, and he never demanded accountability from them, but he signed them over and over again after he promised that he wouldn't. He went after bump stocks. He went after personal liberties. He grew the government. He let the swamp creatures in. He didn't bring the soldiers home. But he has shown a light on so many of the problems that have gone on with this government. Whether by trying to do something that he couldn't do constitutionally and then realizing that everybody else has been doing it unconstitutionally, or just outright having a scandal. People know how an impeachment works. And they didn't know how it worked before. The best thing this president ever did was shine sunlight on all of the dark areas of the government, and we see how the cake is made. And fitting that if he does wind up leaving office in January, that his last act of defiance for a presidency that was never supposed to happen, that the machine was never supposed to allow to happen, his last act of defiance is shining a light on the machine that's gone out there and put undesirable people into office for 50 fucking years. All right, I'm going to go through your chat one more time here, and then we're going to head on out of here. Hope you guys will join me in the Discord for... Oh, shit, I got Grant in the waiting room, and I didn't even see that. Okay, we're going to give Grant a little bit here because I didn't see that. So I'm going to pull him in here, and we'll see what's happening there. Grant, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up?
What's on your mind?
Oh, I just got back, so I just checking in. So I saw that you're streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to close it. I went on a closing rant on what President Trump did, but I just looked over and I happened to see you in the waiting room. So, how are you feeling about this election?
Well, generally not so great, but it is, it is what it is. There's only so much, we can do, and other than that, we gotta figure out how to live with it and what we need to do going forward.
Do you think that he's going to pull it off?
I think it's a long shot. I think it's possible, but I think it's a long shot in the odds.
So my big question here is, did you catch the rant that I just went on?
Just the end of it, just some of the stuff that you're saying about things Trump has been disappointing on and stuff like that.
But the fact of the matter is, he came out and broke the toys. He's shining a light. Yeah. Sunlight is the best sanitizer.
Yeah, I'm worried, though, because also part of what this election shows, though, is that the media still has a lot of people in their grip. Yeah.
Well, and that's what they're going to do. People have been told to trust what the media has been saying for as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, so the hard part is going to be going forward are we going to be able to reach more people, or is that going to close on us? Because, obviously tech companies and media are going to want to shut more doors and become more aggressive against people who don't conform to the narrative. But the question is, are they going to be able to do that? And, that remains to be seen.
Well, I've always said, too, right from the top that, if the crackdown comes down, the boot comes down, and I love making content. And I want to do this every day until the day that I die. I want to hear calls from people every other week. I want to make a morning show every morning. I want to sit down with Elaine every week and have that conversation every week. I love doing what I do, but if the boot comes down, I'll just sit and make video game content.
Yeah, and that's the problem, though, right? Is if the boot comes down and then we're shut out, then what, right? Like, yeah, okay, go make the content that you like, but on the political end, maybe those lists that they're making become a very real thing, and then a lot of other bad stuff.
Oh, I'm on that list. Yeah. I sent a letter to Representative Cortez's office and said, here's the name that you need to put onto the list. And then I'm going to redact what I put on there because it's actually my first and got my last name on there. But
yeah, other people, other things I've heard about those kinds of lists is that really, once they get the authority, the places they're going to go is they're just going to go to like the NRA and say, you have to give us your membership list, and other places like that. RNC, you must give us the list of Republican. I think that's registered, actually. That's public knowledge. Mm-hmm. But they'll just start going down that list and saying, these are the people who need to be, quote, re-educated, unquote.
Oh, yeah. And they already did it. They had the Donald Trump what was it? Donald Trump .watch, was it? Yeah, it was Donald Trump .watch that they had out there.
Yeah, and that was renamed from, I think it used to be like Fascism Watch is what they called it, but I think they got in trouble, so they changed it to Donald Trump .watch.
And yeah, that was just they pulled it right off FEC record. It wasn't like they were going down with a private eye and saying, did you did you donate? Did you know somebody that donated? Will you tell me about that?" No, they were going down the FEC list, which is public record, like you said.
Yeah, and that's a public records list, but that still isn't the complete list. Like I said, they'll go to other places like say the NRA, and they'll say you have to tell us now everyone, and then that's their list of people who have guns.
Which is weird because not all NRA members, ironically, have guns. You would think
Yeah,
that they would, but
yeah. So it depends on. We'll have to see how far they go with stuff. In the more immediate term, I'm more worried just about things like the economy and stuff like that, and if my company is going to make it through. Because if we have another shutdown, I don't think I'll still have a job.
yeah, and I mean, my business that I work in on during the day is deemed essential, which means I haven't missed a day of work, but I know a lot of people have. I know that it's been difficult on some people, and there are other people out there. And one of the nice parts about living in Rock County in Wisconsin is the fact that nobody gives a fuck about lockdowns or mask mandates. I walk into
Yep.
the butcher shop in town here, and no mask, nobody says a word.
Yeah, well, so part of it's hard because the company I work at, it's not we sell stuff to other people, and if the economy gets bad, just our sales goes down, and it's not doesn't have anything to do with our company being told to shut down. It's just the fact that all of our customers go away, and then we go away because we have no customers.
Right.
So
So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know what's to come off of this here. I know that I mean, if the lists keep coming out, I'm gonna have to put AOC back in the kitchen
yeah,
and
yeah.
shut her.
The list thing though to me is farther off. In the more immediate, they're talking about 4 to 6 week shutdowns. Like I said, I don't. If my company the company I work for goes under, then they're not coming back. It's not like they just open up and then the company I was working at just comes back. It's like
Yeah.
we're gone, and then I don't know. From there, it's like in the immediately, I got to figure out how to make ends meet.
No, and there are a lot of people that are in that same boat. And now, like Deutsche Bank came out, well, we want to put a 5% tax on people who are going to telecommute for the rest of their careers. But bitch, are you fucking serious right now? We
Yeah,
should have been
it's
doing
just
this with all the crap that you've been telling us about climate change. We should have been doing this 20 years ago.
yeah. So the issue though is right. It's just that they just have no idea how the economy works, and they think it's this fixed thing where we divide up the pie. But it's this thing that can grow and shrink, and these things shrink the economy, and literally we all get poorer.
Yeah, I mean, what was it in the second quarter? The economy shrank 37.3% in the U.S.
Right.
And the only people that talked about it were Elaine and I on the Red and Ed show, and Stephen Ignoramus covered it. Nobody in the mainstream touched that motherfucker.
Yeah,
And that
well,
should have been the juiciest thing out there.
it's the reason that on the economic side, the more libertarian Republicans and the libertarians, they always talk about growth, and you hear it from the left like, oh, this magical growth thing. It's like, yeah, because if you have growth, then more jobs and the economy, the amount of wealth increases, like overall, like it's the pie getting bigger or more pies or whatever the analogy is, but they don't understand it and they think it's fixed, but it can shrink, and if it shrinks, we all get poorer.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I mean, you don't get back from that either. We were talking at the top of the show about, what was it? NASARA.
What is
National Economic Security and Recovery Act.
Yeah, it's not that it can't come back. It's that it's always harder to. It always takes more time and it's more difficult to build than it is to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. That's, I think I'm going to call it there
Wrap
with you
up.
here. We're going to take some time and see if anybody else wants to pop in here. But thanks for giving your 2 cents in. Hopefully you'll come and hang out with us for movie night. That'll be coming up here in just a bit.
Oh, what's the movie?
We're gonna in the Discord server. We're gonna stream Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is a fantastic movie, by the way.
Yeah, it's got Captain America in it.
Does it?
It's also got Captain Marvel.
It does. That I knew.
Chris Evans is in it.
Oh, that is Chris Evans. You're right.
Brie Larson's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Brie Larson was in it. I didn't realize that was Chris Evans.
And I guess what's her name? The Ramona Flowers is also in Birds of Prey.
Of course she is. All right, we're gonna give you the boot here. I'm gonna see if anybody else
All
wants
right.
to call in, and we're gonna finish
Yep.
out. I think so. Thanks.
All right. Have a good evening.
Take care. All right, that was Grant from over on the Real Off Hours channel. It was an offshoot of the Beauty and the Beta channel. He runs that over there. He does a really good job. I pop in there every once in a while. It's a great conversation, and thanks to Grant for coming in and adding his 2 cents off to this here. If anybody else wants to call in, I'll get the Discord up into the live chat here. So, if anybody else wants to pop in, get into the Discord, get into the waiting room, and come and hang out, and I'll pull you in here. But I think we're going to start winding this down. So yeah, I mean, as I said, the best thing that this president did, and he did a lot of bad stuff and he did a lot of good stuff. The peace deals were good, the spending was bad, but the best thing that he did was he broke a lot of their toys. He shone a light on a lot of things that I do think that the deep state didn't want light shown into. Full and foremost, I don't think a lot of them wanted any of what we saw for these 4 years seen. They didn't want people to see how the sausage was made. They just wanted people, like the left in this country, like the progressives in this country, to go to college, believe that the government can forgive their student loans and give them whatever the hell else they want, and not to question anything else off it. And now, the curtain has been pulled back. We've seen the levers in the inside of the government. We've seen the way that the media tries to manipulate the world and tries to change the way that it comes out. That's the best thing that came out of this presidency, out of anything else. Him coming up and breaking the toys. And I think that's where we're going to call it off here. So, those of you who are not in the Discord, come and hang out in the Discord. As I mentioned to Grant, we are going to be watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World in the Discord, because it is the only thing that is not going to pop me for copyright. So we'll hop in there. It'll be a Mike's Muted channel, so get in there, get your headphones on, and prepare to watch the movie there. Otherwise, we will be back here. I'll be back here on Monday for more contemporary. It's something I'm definitely looking forward to. And the Red Net Show, Elaine is going to be back. We conferred about this earlier on in the week, possibly with a little bit of new music too. So that'll be kind of fun here. Mr. Behavior has offered me instrumentals on all of his music, so I'll be taking a look a little bit more into that, probably a little bit after the movie. So definitely come in and hang out with that. And hey, if you got the time and you want to see some good media, not the same recycled media that you see on CNN, Fox, NBC, and otherwise, but if you want to see some good quality media from a lot of really good people who are your everyday 9-to-5ers, who work, who go to their jobs just like you do, come and check out freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs, where we carry great shows such as the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles and Brit Show, the Generational Gap, the Daily Ignoramus, and the Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Come and support great creators who, like I said, it's not like looking at a Hollywood writer, a Hollywood lawyer, a failed actor, and a blogger from the Blaze coming out and telling you what the news are when they've never lived like you and I do. Come and have a look at people who shower after they come home from work, because they do work hard like you do. Come and check us out over there, pick up some of our swag and help us support great creators. Get us some clicks, tell a friend about that, and come and hang out with us. And lastly, one of the common themes coming through this show and others was never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. I've got an agenda, they've got an agenda. Don't take what they have to say as the be-all, end-all truth. And don't take what I have to say as the be-all, end-all truth. Do some independent research, see what it is that they don't want you to see, and come back and let that shape the way that you see the world. Because that's been the goal of me from the moment I started this channel, was to try and help you get the tools to shape your own worldview instead of my worldview. So make sure you go out and do that here. If you want to catch up with me, the Discord is linked in the description below, or you can find me over on Twitter. That is at @HesBlogTwitter with a 1 in place of the I. Come and hang out, and Tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm right. Throw a meme up there. Throw a little bit of snarky comment up there. Just let's have some fun over there because it's all monotony at this point. And that's going to be it. Thanks everybody who came and hung out. Thank you to Unsatiable and Grant for calling in for the day. We will see you next time. Possibly we'll have an interview with Pete the Patriot coming up here too. I'll have to talk to my co-hostess and see what we've got to do with that. But we will see what's happening there. And until then, take care. Have a good night. Behave yourselves. And, well, take care.